Ladies and gentlemen, this is the City of San Ramon Parks and Community Services Commission special meeting on January 31st. We're calling order the time 7:10 p.m. With that, we'll go to Pledge of Allegiance. Yep. Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll go with a roll call.
Chair Dorlick, Vice Chair Mitra,
Here.
Commissioner Breed,
Here.
Commissioner Levy,
Here.
Commissioner Lopez Lucy,
Present.
Commissioner Osland,
Present.
Commissioner Owens,
Here.
Student Commissioner Tatapali,
Present.
and also in attendance Kathy Hyman and Brad Morris.
Thank you. We go to the item number 4, or should we go for the anybody? What is that called?
Public comment.
Public comments.
We can go with special items and announcements
Okay.
first.
So agenda item 4.1 special items.
I do have a few announcements for you all. So I'm really very pleased to announce that the department won a statewide California Park and Rec Society Award. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting. It's for the Teen Leadership Program that's led by Andrew Mendez. Now it's a little familiar because we submitted it last year for the district. And since we won at the district, we thought, okay, well, come on, let's roll the dice and see if we can win for the state. And it did. So for the entire state of California, we've received an award. We will actually bring that to a future meeting so you get a chance to thank Andrew and hear more about the program. But I didn't want to keep that news to myself.
Cool.
So that's exciting. I also, we do have John Bell, our Public Services Division Manager here. So I often have announcements, but we have a resource in the audience. So just FYI.
Oh.
The Central Park field lights, I understand on good authority that they should be fixed by mid-February. I think we were waiting on a PG&E appointment. And so cross your fingers, we're going to get our field lights back. Public Services did a major cleanup at Crow Canyon Gardens and removed all the overgrown blackberry and then are replacing the fence that's around muds. So if you get a chance, go take a look. I mean, it's a significant amount of debris and plant growth was cleared. So you really can actually see the building much better now. On 2/21, you might have noticed on that schedule of meetings that I gave you that I put an optional tour of the woodlot. That is still TBD because I feel like the weather's a little unsettled still, and it's not possible to visit that site if it's raining or if it's been raining for a couple of days because it will be just too muddy to traverse. But if the weather and the long range forecast is looking good, we will offer that as an optional tour. The point of that tour really will be to acquaint everybody with the space. Some of you have been there, some of you haven't. I want you to all to start being able to think about the kind of park attributes that might make most sense there in preparation for eventually working on a conceptual plan for it. So this is just a very, very, very front edge little step. Let's show you the physical space. If you want to do something to even prepare more, I would encourage you to go to Mill Creek Hollow Park because it's a great example of a very similar size park that's a natural setting with a path. It's not as manicured, or to visit Centennial Park, which is also a little bit bigger, but still around that same size park. It's passive, but more manicured, just to start you thinking. So I will let you know a week before this meeting if it actually is going to come to pass. If for some reason we can't catch everyone at that point, we can always do a second tour. So don't panic if you can't make that time because I'm feeling like the weather may not cooperate. So stay tuned on that. On February 21st, also on that schedule was a joint meeting with the Arts Advisory Committee. That'll be at the San Ramon Community Center at 7. I mean, that's going to be to receive a presentation on the Bishop Ranch Public Art Master Plan, the concepts that they're working on that so that you all can hear it and have a chance for some feedback. And then there's not a meeting on February 28th, but that is the date I'm targeting to turn the lights back on at the sports park at Sunrise Ridge Park. And then we'll be noticing the entire community to let them know the lights are going on. So the park won't be open. It'll still be fenced off. But if you're curious and want to go see the lights without a downpour of rain, hopefully, you might be able to do so that night. So also on another note with that, we have been having a real struggle in that park because we have many rogue teams busting through the fence and running games out there on that field. And so police have been notified and we're trying to get the builder to tighten the fence up. But I guess last weekend they had full-on soccer game going out there with referees and the whole 9 yards
Which part?
at Sunrise Ridge.
Sunrise Ridge.
Sunrise Ridge.
And,
Yeah.
and then that was going on then the destruction of, at the same time?
Well, if the park's still under construction, the
Yeah.
fences are up. So the only way in is to battle your way through a chain link fence. The bathrooms aren't functional. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. People are very anxious for that park to be done. So want to get this light piece done and then we'll be coming back around when we can do the grand opening for that. And then also just some upcoming events to keep on your radar. Of course, the Arts Foundation's Friday Forum Films, February 2nd, 9,
Yep.
16, 23. Going to be great. I'm sure Dave or we'll talk about that. February 10th, the Open Space Speaker Series. They're doing Things I Learned on the Trail with Susan Alcorn, an author. So if you're around and want to do that, that's just a free event. On February 24th, the Senior Foundation has Rockin' Bingo. And there is our chair door, look right here.
There you go.
On February 27th, we'll have the Traveling Reptile Show at the San Ramon Library. So that's just kind of cool. And March 2nd, our San Ramon Performing Arts Presenting Series show. It'll be the first of the season is Tina, a tribute to the Queen of Rock and Roll. Apparently the best Tina Turner tribute band there is out there. So if you haven't got tickets for that, that's going to be quite a show. And then right before we have our next commission meeting, the San Ramon Symphonic Band will be doing a Spirit of Mexico concert. So
What time is the OSAC presentation?
I want to say 10 a.m., but
9 o'clock.
good thing Brad saved the day.
Where's it at?
San Ramon Community Center.
Harris Road?
So April 21st, there is a show, something in the Performing Arts Center, right? That
Sorry, say it again.
Tisra.
Yeah.
April 21st.
Yes,
That'll be a good show. That's Zakir Hossain is one of the best.
Tisra. Yeah.
Yeah, Tisra.
Oh, did I skip that one? Sorry. Anyway, that ends it for my
April 21st. Yep.
list of programs
It
and
is tabla. That's the best tabla in the world. Yep. Sorry,
absolutely.
we got our chair, so handing over to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Sorry for my tardiness. I do have a note from my parents, so. I,
We're glad you're here.
thank you. Yeah, end of month thing. Anyway. We are on then,
So we just finished special
Public.
item.
oh. Just in time for public comments. That's always the highlight of the evening. Do we have any public comments?
None at this time, Chair.
Well, son of a gun, okay. If we did have any public comments, members of the public are certainly encouraged to address the Parks and Community Services Commission on any item not already included in tonight's agenda. Comments should not exceed 3 minutes. So we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of January 10th, 2024. Are there any changes, adjustments, additions, comments to the meeting minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll
Um,
second it.
Thank you.
Okay. Didn't get the date out, but that's okay.
Those minutes, yes. So we have a motion and a second.
Voter is, I don't see the voter.
Well, let's just take a
not-
voice vote.
Voice vote, yes.
No, no, it's going. It's
Oh,
fine.
is it going?
It's fine, it's going. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just not showing it.
I guess everything is a little late tonight.
It's still.
So is it,
Okay, now we've got.
Oh, no.
so it passed?
Now we got it. Okay, all right.
There we
Seven.
go. Okay.
It's just.
That's all the results are in that it shows. Mhm.
I think it passed with a yes, 8, yes, no abstains.
Is there an 8 up there? Okay.
It's just not showing on the screen.
Okay.
think you can
My,
screen
my,
down.
my bet was the over under was gonna be passed. So that's good. So we will move on to the next agenda item, which is the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered routine and are acted upon by the Department of Community Services with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request that the commission remove the item from the consent calendar. Do we have any items in the consent calendar?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we would have no reason to remove anything if there is not any. So we'll move on to commission business, which is the reason we're all here this evening. 8.1, review of fiscal year 2024-2025 fee schedule.
Good evening, Commissioners. Today I will be presenting the fiscal year 2024-25 draft fee resolution. Each year, city staff prepares a preliminary budget for adoption by the City Council prior to the start of the fiscal year on July 1st. One component of the budget process is a complete review of the fees charged by the various departments for programs and services. Our staff do utilize several methods to conduct their fee analysis, including comparing fees charged for services to other municipalities with like facilities along the 580-680 corridor, utilizing the October 2023 Bay Area CPI, which is 2.8% for October 2023, which is published by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. They also do a review of actual costs of operating and maintaining fields and facilities. This includes the cost of utilities, supplies, and insurance. Also following agreed upon increases with sports user groups, considering the impact of state mandated increases in minimum wage and avoiding compaction between various job classifications, maintaining a flat department budget with a 50% cost recovery goal, and also just updating the existing fees that are in the fee resolution already, but just for better clarification. So the fees that you'll see in the upcoming staff report and the fee resolution document, they utilize different methods. Not all of them follow every single method that I just outlined. It just really depends on the fee. So what I would recommend is if you actually have your staff report on one side and your fee resolution document on the other side, we're going to actually go page by page and analyze the fees per page. If you have any clarifying questions that you would like to go over, please let me know on that page. And once we wrap up, we'll make sure that there aren't any other final clarifying questions. Then we'll go to public comment and then return back to the commission for any feedback or recommendations. So starting on what would be packet page 8, we have fee number 1, increasing rental deposit fee for Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center in Front Row Theater. And I'll wait till the next page to go over fee number 2.
Page number,
Packet page 8 of your
I guess,
staff
but
report.
8. Okay. So are we taking question now or later?
So if you have any clarifying questions for fee number 1, I'd be happy to hear your questions.
Think about this one.
I have a question
Mhm.
about the definitions
Oh, yes.
of each of the categories. So when I was reading it, resident refers to any individual who permanently resides within the city of San Ramon municipal boundaries. And then when I look at the non-resident, it includes a business organization. So question that I had was, does the resident also include the business organizations?
That is a great question. I'm going to defer to Mike Finelli on that one.
Well, If I may, I think a business is for profit usually, so they would fall underneath the commercial private.
Do we need to state that? Because
Um,
they're pretty parallel in their wording, except business organization is added to the non-resident.
If I can-
Individual slash business slash
Commissioner
organization.
Osland, it's actually a great comment for our staff report. That section is actually just part of the staff report and doesn't exist in the fee resolution.
Okay,
So we were attempting from feedback to clarify that even more.
okay,
So we could definitely make a note of it for future staff reports.
okay, okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
And so that there was a distinction between that and the nonprofit resident.
Correct. And then Commissioner Mitra, did you have a
No,
question?
I mean, and just, so we are doubling the deposit. I know this is deposit and supposed to be get back, and doubling because doubling it because the reason behind doubling is just all the fees increases, any reason to increase like that much?
So for the increase of the deposit, it encompasses several factors. One of them would be a higher deposit amount reduces the risk of cancellation and loss of reservable dates for potential renters. Theater rental fees are received typically after the event and are usually tied to ticket sales. So by having the deposit, if something happens with the overall cost of the show, then we have at least some cost that we can recover.
Okay, this is only for the theaters.
Yes,
It is only for the theaters. Okay.
and
Yeah.
it is just a deposit. So assuming that everything goes well with the event, the customer does receive that deposit back.
So I just,
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I also sort of had a question along the same lines as Commissioner Mitra. It says for the local survey and recommendation by Venue Tech was part of the methodology for this increase. Was there like a very wide disparity between us and other neighboring agencies with this kind of deposit fee? Or I'm just trying to understand why it's as large as it is as part of that survey.
I'll have to defer to Adam Chow on that one, or Mike Finelli.
Deposits are basically, we completed we didn't, Venue Tech, who manages our theaters, completed the survey to see where local entities would be in terms of the deposit. So, in terms of raising them, we're not out of line of where, the norm is. But as May stated, our intention was to just protect the city's asset in terms of having some sort of payment in case things are canceled. So,
Oh, sorry. And is this survey just routinely done for this, or is this the first time that we've?
no, this survey's done annually.
Okay.
Yeah, and Venue Tech, who, again, we contract with them, they have they share their results with us, and then we actually make the recommendation. So it wasn't Venue Tech that made the decision to do that.
Right. No, I just wanted to know the source of the information, kind of, why the number was what it was. So thank you. That helps.
So Venue Tech manages in the immediate area 4 other facilities.
I know of 3.
Three other facilities because they stopped using Pittsburgh.
I believe so. Yes. Yep.
So they do have, good data as far as, public, renting of facilities and what the incidence of cancellation would be. So they have some pretty good experience. They specialize in municipalities and their theaters, so it's pretty good data. Yeah, okay, thank you.
so my question was around that as well. It's just curious. So will they, I guess, how often do concerts or theater shows get canceled? Does that happen?
It does
frequently?
it does happen. And in most instances, as May mentioned, part of the process is that when tickets are sold, the only thing the city has to, hold on to is their deposit. So if they cancel and the deposit's minimal, there's really no harm or risk to the customer. So what we're trying to do is protect the calendar and also attract facility users that are going to follow through and complete the reservation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
There are clarifying questions for number 1? Okay, our next fee, number 2, add a facility cancellation fee schedule. Fee number 3, increase of hourly rental fees for outdoor fitness permits. Fee number 4, increase hourly rate for special event permit, additional staff support. Any clarifying questions for these fees?
Is that days and the percentage hold off? Is that the same that we're keeping? Like no penalty for beyond 3 months on 2 to 3 months is 50%. Is that the same or are we making any changes there?
I will have to defer to Mike Pinelli. Are you referring to the facility cancellation fee schedule?
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's an existing,
So that's an existing one
yeah,
and
it's
we are
an
not
existing
changing that.
chart.
We're not changing that.
This is just the first time that it's been in the fee resolution.
Okay.
It exists in our facility rental documents.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Well, and the utilization of these theaters is that what percentage do we know for the year? I mean, we're at a high utilization.
That I would have to,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, it's probably over 90%. Yeah, so I mean, a cancellation is, you know, really, it's not only impacting the use of the utility of the theater, but it's impacting other residents that would have utilized the theater for an event that don't have the opportunity to do that because of a cancellation. That's probably the even more important impact.
You hit the nail right on the head. I mean, that's the one word, and especially when you're talking the Friday, Saturday, Sunday dates, there's very few dates that are available. So when somebody backs out, it's hard to find somebody in the place because everybody's already moved on and found other venues. So you're sitting with an empty date.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a 3-month lease.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions on number 3, number 4? Okay. Moving on to the next page, fee number 5, addition of push cart food vendor fees. Fee number 6, rename rooms at Doherty Station Community Arts Center. And then I'll save fee number 7 for our next page. Yes,
Can I-
Commissioner Osland?
What's push cart? Is that, yeah.
That's a good.
It's
thing.
essentially like a mobile cart. So think of a vendor selling ice cream in the
Ice cream.
park
Okay.
or,
That's.
okay.
Did we ever charge that before? Never seen this before. Is it the first time we are introducing this or is it already there?
Yeah, this would be a brand new fee
Brand new
for the
fees.
city.
And that, again, just asking because we do events. So we are expecting that when we event that we can bring those people push cart things. As an event organizer, we can have those. And then only they're paying, like anybody can come and stand there on the sidewalk and sell that.
Right. Yeah,
that-
anyone can apply for
Yeah.
the application.
I might dive in here. So when a park is rented for a special event, then we kind of create a circle around it and then people need to come through the special events permit process. This would be, think of Central Park on a hot summer day.
Right.
The state of California just made it possible for people to do street vending. So there was a state law that was passed last year, but this just gives us a little bit more kind of our arms around it and a fee attached to it too. It was proposed last year through the budget process. After the budget went past you guys, it came on. So it was something we were asked to go ahead and work on. And so this is the tail end of it.
Got it. Okay.
Great.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Push cart applications?
I might. But we go.
I don't think I ought to do that.
Perfect. Okay, so moving on to fee number 7, increase indoor facility rental fees at San Ramon Community Center Fountain Room. And fee number 8, decrease fees for the sound studios. Any
Ye-
questions on these
Yes.
two?
So are we decreasing the prices? And we are decreasing because the midweek, right? Okay, I'm talking about item number 7.
Mhm.
San Ramon Community Center, we are decreasing the rates for the midweek rentals. Is it because we want to attract more and we are not getting enough?
I'll defer to Mike on that one.
Do you mind repeating that question, Commissioner?
So item number 7, where
Mhm.
we are saying the rental fees for the San Ramon Community Center Fountain Room. And for the weekdays rental, we are reducing from 75 to 70 and 155 to 145. Whereas the weekends, we are increasing from 160 to 175 and 340. So
I'm following you. So when we are changing any of the facility fees, the resident fee, we're trying to stay in line with a methodology that will apply a 25% over on top of the resident rate for a non-resident.
Mhm.
And it'll be a 50% below the resident rate for the nonprofit. So when we are proposing to change the resident rate for the fountain room, we have to automatically adjust the other two classifications to stay within that methodology.
Okay, so it is not because we wanted to attract more, it's just
Just
because they're
simply
putting in
to-
the formula and whatever the number
Correct,
comes up.
correct.
Got it. Okay.
Any other questions regarding the fountain room? Or the sound studio?
Perfect. Okay, so moving on to the next page, fee number 9, increase fees for group picnic rentals. Any clarifying questions there? Great. Next page, fee number 10, increase.
One clarification.
Yes.
I don't think you've mentioned this yet, but you did in the subcommittee meeting, that oftentimes you'll see that it's rounded up. So generally we will round up to the dollar rather than keep it at, interval in between or round down. So if you see something that's 2.9, little 2.8, it's because it was rounded up.
Excellent. So for fee number 10, increase fees for aquatic picnic rentals, and fee number 11, increase fees for hourly field rentals for turf fields. Any clarifying questions there? Great. Next page, fee number 12, increase.
Did you have one?
So it kind of goes with the synthetic and then the turf.
Okay,
So the turf is lower. So I was curious if that could be explained. I would think the opposite.
The terminology turf is actually grass and synthetic would be the artificial.
But I would think grass might take more care for maintenance. I don't know. That was just my thought. I was curious why that was lower than the synthetic.
I know the synthetic is more desirable and it's utilized 12 months a year. I don't have the costs or.
Well, I'll dive in. So, and we can we've got sports and we've got public services in the house. So I'm certain we can get this answer clear for you. But it's my understanding that the cost of artificial turf and grass, so if you take the cost of maintaining the grass for 10 years and the cost of the artificial turf, it's about the same. So they're just two products. So it's, you either pay for it all at once with the artificial turf and then there's still maintenance that has to happen, or you maintain that grass for 10 years and you get to about the same place. But the artificial turf is at a premium and it's what everybody wants to play on and it's expensive and it has to be replaced. So therefore it's in line with the fees that everyone else is charging for artificial turf.
So you would say that the turf gets utilized more.
Yes.
So then the depreciation factor would be greater, so you want to do more recovery, so it's a little bit higher.
Can I help? When we're running soccer, so yes, the turf is in higher demand because it has lights on it. It drains water quickly, right? So you can use it more often. Frankly, you can put more people on the field because it doesn't get muddy in the spot. So you get better return on your investment because you'll put multiple teams on a field. And just so you know, like Rancho, when I was president club, we asked how much it costs to like replace the turf in Rancho, and I might be wrong, but it's like $1 million. I mean, it's super expensive to go replace it, but also we got a lot of holes in the turf, like where soccer poles are and stuff. So they got to go in and replace all that. Super expensive.
Thank you.
Okay. Do what I can for my history. I just did some data checking.
Thank you, Commissioner Preet.
Yep.
Any other questions on serve grass? All right.
Great. Okay, so fee number 12, increase hourly rental fees for turf fields, field lights, synthetic fields, sand volleyball courts, storage facilities, and batting cages. Could start with turf fields. Great. Any clarifying questions on light fees, synthetic fields, sand volleyball courts, renaming a storage facility to sport equipment storage, batting cage. Great. So fee number 13, establishing fees for a synthetic soccer lacrosse field and synthetic diamond at Sunrise Ridge Park. Fee number 14, establish resident fees for tennis court rentals, and I'll save fee number 15 for the next page. Commissioner Olson?
Yeah, so the tennis court rental, that's new.
Yes.
Are other communities doing this in our area?
A few are, one of the local entities, Pleasanton, they have their courts contracted out. So they handle it all. But, when we did the research, we found that a majority of them do charge an hourly rate. The only difference, I'm sorry, a 90-minute rate.
Okay.
We used to rent the, free hourly courts, the one reservable court. So the fee that's in here is more based on the survey that we did that was predominantly based on a 90 minutes of use.
And Julia, when we probed on this one, we have 23 courts, they're only charging on 5 courts, is that correct? So the fees will only apply to 5 courts.
Correct. Not 5 separate locations, one
So
court at
We have a
yeah,
total of
correct.
23 courts in the city. Fees are gonna be on 5 of the 23.
So I think my question is, how will that be managed?
So the reservations currently are done online and we are able to track the report daily. Although there's no fees, they're still required to reserve them, to actually have a permit with them when they're used. Same system's going to happen. There's just going to be a fee attached to that online reservation.
Have we communicated this at all to the tennis players that frequent those courts?
Not yet. We were waiting for approval for the fee.
And I would add, Commissioner Osland, this was another one of those revenue enhancements that was added at the end of last year. But in order for us to establish it, we had to put the fee in now.
Okay.
So we're still moving on last year's budget.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking a lot about process, and I was just curious, like, how will cancellations happen? Because that will
Well,
be the
they're
case.
still, although the courts are now, you can pay for the reservation, the option still exists to play without the reservation.
Mhm.
By paying for the reservation formally, you're guaranteeing the space. So that's the advantage to doing it. We don't anticipate that all the current players will roll right over and continue to pay. Some will probably just try to maybe find a less desirable location where they won't. But in terms of cancellation, the courts are typically open rain or shine.
Mhm.
So we don't close the courts. The lights are on at a set amount of time daily. So we can certainly look into adding something into this, assuming this is approved, to cover ourselves in terms of, customers requesting cancellations.
Thank you.
So one clarifying, so those 5 locations where we are renting them, we're not locking them out, right? I think if I understand correctly, we will be open as the way it used to be. It's just the people are guaranteed to get that if they get there.
Correct. We're hoping that the individuals that actually did process their reservation and pay for it, we're requiring that they have their permit with them, and we're hoping that will suffice if somebody's on that specific.
And if
court.
it is not reserved, it's open for anybody to go and play.
That's correct.
The way it is normally right now. Okay.
Correct.
Does this fee include the new pickleball courts that were converted at Central Park?
Let's go ask that, yeah.
No, it
No, it
does
doesn't.
not.
Okay.
Another clarifying question?
Okay, fee number 15, increase box office purchasing fees at the Front Row Theater and Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. It's creeping onto the next page. Fee number,
Yeah, sorry, I have a question on
Oh.
that. 15. Again, this is the same one. We are increasing 300% increase, this one, right? Per tickets on that one. Now, going back to the other one, we double this. This is 3 times 300%. Is it that and this is based on some survey, right? We did, or Venutech did some survey on that.
I believe this is based on actual cost of the ticket. I'll defer
Cost
to
of the
Adam.
ticket. So the thing, my question is, were we charging less? Now we have to increase, or we said, nah, we need to cover the cost or something like that? I mean, it is a big jump. Numbers are small, but the jump is big right?
Correct. So when we moved to the software that we have right now, which is Showware, we made a decision to charge only 1/3 of the actual cost that we were paying, that we are incurring from the software to be able to run tickets and be able to operate the ticket software. So what we're doing right now is going from that 1/3 charge that's passed on to customers to be able to charge the customers 100% of what the actual cost is to be able to purchase tickets for those individuals.
Okay, so we were, from the city was, I think there are somewhere says city was kind of taking that rest, kind of making up
Correct.
that rest, right?
Correct. The city was paying for 2/3 of those ticket costs. for
Oh, okay,
customers.
so that was now city is not going to pay, we are recovering the cost.
That's the
Okay.
recommendation, that the customer pays for the full cost of the tickets that they're paying.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to know whether recurring customers who used to pay this much, now all of a sudden we're going to tell them that you have to pay 3 times. So,
I would probably guarantee you, no one's gonna notice, number one. And if you've bought any tickets recently on Ticketmaster. I mean, you buy a $80 ticket, you're paying $25 for the, I mean, it's
crazy.
It's pretty in depth.
yeah, it is, it is.
Industry, and this is just a cost recovery, not a, yeah, I would guarantee you'd ask 100 people that bought tickets, if you knew what the ticket fee was, and 100 people would say no.
People bring it up with the Friday Foreign Film Series. They do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, yeah. We-
Really?
Yeah,
That there's a ticket fee?
yeah, that they pay like, $10 and then it ends up being like 15 with all the fees in there. So yeah, they do mention it. Not everybody, most people don't. You're right, but yeah. Okay, I have a
Oh, yeah.
Adam, you may not have these numbers in front of you, but if we were assuming, oh, I'm sorry, were you done? I apologize. If we were covering 2/3 of the cost, do you know how much like revenue we were losing or how much it was costing the city to assume that cost?
Yep. So the amount that we have here that we would increase revenue would be $15,650 per year. That's how much money that we are subsidizing.
Okay, thank you.
So I might add, as long as we're on this one, what we're really looking for tonight, I know you're asking your clarifying questions, but we had a great discussion with the Finance Policy Committee and we tweaked some things, but if when we get to the end of this, what you really want to say is, yeah, we think this fee's too high, or we think you should lower it, that's probably at the end, and specifically with this fee, in theory, we think we probably should try and recover these costs because there's an individual benefit to the person who's buying the ticket. It's less community benefit. But you as a commission could also suggest, let's do that in 2 steps. So I want to make sure you understand what options you have and how you can help us figure out what the right fees are to move forward. The same with the tennis. We are proposing this fee, but if you think that's too high for what we're offering, then that would be something that you could recommend at the end as a group. Again, not an individual. It has to be a majority of the commission.
And can I add one more thing, Will? Arthur, what we tried to do on the finance committee is like a fee like this one. Do we have cost recovery and are we defendable? If someone says, hey, why are you doing it? So this one to me was, we're defendable and it's cost recovery. So I felt okay with this one. So I don't know if that helps, but the principle I use is every fee, are we defendable on every fee? If someone comes and asks us. So that's one of the things I tried to go through when we asked all the questions. I don't know if that helps at all, but this one was total cost.
No, I
recovery.
mean, definitely, I mean, we have to recover the cost, and that is there.
Yeah.
The question is like, we are absorbing and subsidizing 2/3 of the cost, 2/3 of the price. I mean, that is something that people need to understand when they're told that, okay, we had to increase 3 times.
Any other clarifying questions? All right, fantastic. Thank you, Adam.
All right, moving on to fee numbers 16 and 17. Fee 16, increase fees for hourly rates for technical and house staff at both the Front Row Theater and the Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. And fee number 17, increase additional time hourly fees for Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center. Any clarifying questions there?
Okay.
Great. On the next page, fee number 18, correct Doherty Valley Performing Arts Center cultural growth surcharge. Fee number 19, increase fees for facility equipment rental. And fee number 20, increase fees for San Ramon Olympic Pool and Aquatic Park at Doherty Valley Aquatic Center, special event and lane use fees. Any questions?
Facility equipment?
Yes. Can you explain the cultural growth fee, please?
So for the cultural growth surcharge, during the 2020-2021 fee resolution process, it was approved to actually list the cultural growth surcharge for non-ticketed events over 300 people, from 350 to 400. But that change was never actually reflected in the fee resolution document. So now we're just updating the fee resolution document with that approved fee from 2020-2021.
And oh gosh, the Olympic pool.
We did update the formatting, so it's a little more easier to read. Any questions on fee number 20? And that one extends across a few pages, but if there are no questions there, our final fee is fee number 21, increase fees for gym rentals at Pine Valley and Iron Horse Gymnasia. Any clarifying questions? Great. So I believe at this point, we'll double check to see if there are any public comment before we return back to the commission for feedback and recommendations.
There's no public comment or questions at this time.
Fantastic. Okay. So just as a point, I think the total revenue increase proposed here is about $190,000 for some change, throughout. So why don't we start here? Commissioner Tampano, do you have any questions, recommendations, any comments?
No questions, but I would just consider revisiting the tennis court thing, just in terms of having management either on call or on site. Just because I know if there's teenagers involved, there are going to be like issues with even if people reserved it, they'll try to stay on the court and try to evade that. So just something to consider. But other than that, great presentation. It was really interesting to learn about all this. Thank you.
That's actually a great point about the new tennis court fee. I don't think that should stop us from doing it, but it's just something staff's going to need to be prepared to deal with potentially if that's implemented. No, I think this is a lot of, I can only imagine the amount of work that went into putting this together over God only knows how long of a period of time. And I think it's been thoroughly reviewed and it's a lot of good work. So great job to staff.
Great. And just to clarify, Commissioner Dorlick, since you mentioned the bottom line revenue, if all fees were approved, it would be revenue to the city of $175,215.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to remember what my ad was on the worksheet. Okay.
I don't have any questions, but thank you for the presentation. And the committee meeting was very well presented and answered a lot of questions for us, I'm sure.
It's easier the second time, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, May and team. It's only about the tennis court reservations would be the only a little bit at making sure we have some good policies around it and signage. And I know that staff will be there because that's why we've picked these certain courts, correct? But I'm just a little worried if people cancel an hour before or it's raining and how we're going to handle that piece of it. I just think we need to really think that through. And I also like Commissioner Levy's comment about the pickleball courts to consider that as well.
All right, made great presentation and the whole team. We worked on that, lot of work, definitely. I think when you look at the number 175K recovery or extra in revenue, that's definitely go for it. Why not? The only concern about the tennis court as well. So I'm just thinking like we all are used to going there, getting there free. All of a sudden, people may not be aware of that. This is unless we have it a really like experiment to go all out so everybody's aware of that. So I'm just wondering, sometimes people are playing there and all of a sudden somebody showed up with a printout and say, I have this fail right now, code right now, how will that go? So that is the only thing that I have. Probably think it through, that there could be some people concern or complaints and stuff like that coming in that. Other thing is that, again, it's recovery, cost recovery, go for it. I do that, but 300 times sounds a little high to me personally on that, but cost recovery, definitely support that full time. Absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have two comments, but they're more forward-looking. I wouldn't hold this up because of them, but section 2, it doesn't seem fair to me that if they cancel, but then we refill the space, that we still get 100%. There's something in, contracts I negotiate for a living called a resale clause. That's, I guess, up to them to negotiate that, but it seems to me that we should try to maybe figure out. I understand this doesn't happen that often, which is why I'm not making a big deal out of it, but if that space is now filled, we're actually getting paid twice for it, and it doesn't really seem fair to me. I think we should still get something because they canceled, but something to think about. The other one is on section 15 with the purchasing fee. We do get this with the Friday Foreign Film Series. If you're purchasing a $10 ticket, it ends up being about $15. And to Will's point, this is a bigger issue. Ticketmaster and all that still doesn't make it right. And I understand we have a vendor and, we have to make sure that we cover those costs. But some things to think about, maybe require, the renters to disclose that these fees are on there when they are advertising it. Potential. I know we can't control that to a large degree, but you could, at least contractually make them do that. And I'm also wondering, the Cultural Growth Fund, when I was on the Arts Advisory Committee, we voted to move that from $1 to $2, and I think that's still the right choice. I am wondering if maybe we should think about in the future, does this scale based on how much the ticket is versus just the same amount for each ticket? Because maybe for a $10 ticket, it should only be $1. But if you're doing a $50 ticket, maybe it's better if it's $3 and people won't notice. So those are my only comments on those. But I wouldn't hold up the budget just based on those. Just something to think about in the future.
Okay. First of all, thanks, because I know I gave you guys a lot of comments during the Finance Commission or Finance Committee, and I saw a lot of changes, so I appreciate it. And I am with Kyle. I know how much work this is. And so, as I said earlier, I really appreciate it. Here's my feedback, or my feedback in general. I always struggle with us using the 2% 1 month for CPI. I still think we should use a 12-month. And I know it's a city thing, but I'm just saying it for public record that it doesn't make sense that we're using 1 month as a CPI to me. So, because the cost is a total year long, as we learned through pools. Because when we talked about pools, I forget what it was, Keith. He said, our electricity's up a ton, the water's up a ton over a year time period. So that's my first feedback. The other thing is on a co-sponsor group, I think we should put, I was telling Kathy this, but what percent is a co-sponsor? So if we have 51%, so my point is that we're renting fields to citizens. They take the priority of, as we take a look at what a co-sponsor, you need to have so many San Ramon residents on that fee. I think it's important that we think that there's pressure on the city to generate revenue, hence the tennis courts and parks we're looking for ways to get fees, and we're trying things new. I think the tennis court one will be, as I brought up in a meeting, we're going to need to have to educate that it's happening and how it works, and it's going to be grunky. We're going to make mistakes, and we need to, be okay with that, but we'll learn through it. And I think that it's only 5 out of 23, which gave me a lot of like, okay, that's cool. And if you just decide on pickleball, I think it's be like 1 out of 4. So, and what are we really trying to solve for? Because our goal is, how do we keep our fees as low as possible for the citizens of San Ramon? How do we keep the fees as low as possible for the citizens of San Ramon? And then the last thing I'd say is that the fee on the theater and the tickets, one principle is we always need to go with cost recovery. If we can always defend ourselves and say, we're doing a cost recovery, and we may make a mistake and say, man, we weren't doing it, but now we're going to cost recovery. I think we're okay. I like Dave's idea on the cultural thing. That was really smart, I think. So in one way, if we need to generate more funds, it's a good build. So, but as we look at stuff, know that we got to hit the 50%, and then we, how are we cost recovery and how are we defendable? So, I think it's really good work. It's just feedback for next time. You guys made a ton of adjustments based off of my many questions in the committee, but I thought it's really good work. So thank you so much.
Do we have any other comments or? Commissioner Bree, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, let me just make sure I'm writing. I know we're just forwarding it to the city council, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Was that. We're going to City Council Finance Committee. Perfect. Okay, I move that we forward the 2024-25 fee schedule for the Parks and Community Service to the City Council Finance Committee for their consideration.
Excellent.
I appreciate that, Bill.
I second that.
Thank you, Julia.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we will vote.
Well, I don't need to speak. Just take me out.
There's a virtue. It's a virtue, not one that I learned, but.
Democracy moves slow.
I think we're still having a problem with that.
It's a virtue, but one that I never learned, so
We don't do anything.
we're just waiting for it to pop up on the screen.
Stacy, have they all come through?
You will. It may say I want to speak, but I hit the wrong.
Yeah, it says approved.
Oh, it's not, I didn't come through for that. Yeah, it didn't come through for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just need to say the number that approved it. And that way, if it's not on the screen.
The item was approved, with 7 yes, 0 no, 0 abstains, and 0 no votes.
I didn't vote.
I didn't vote. I didn't vote.
I didn't vote either.
I voted for everybody.
Yeah,
That's
what-
weird, because it came through as approved.
All
No,
right,
it
can we
didn't.
can we just do a quick
Let's just
voice
do
vote then?
Do voice vote.
Voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed?
0 opposed.
Any abstain? Okay.
Thank you.
Nice job, Dan.
thank you.
Great. That might be the winning ticket for the postponed Super Bowl study.
Not like.
Still look good. Still 2 point favor. Thank you, General. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to 8.2, which is a discussion led by Director Hyman of Parks and Community Service Commission meeting time. Are we taking too long?
Yeah.
Never, never. But what I did want to bring up today, and as some of you may already be aware, the Planning Commission last year talked about it as a group and decided to make their meetings start at 6 o'clock. We also had the Library Advisory Committee, which followed suit at 6 o'clock. Our teen council's meetings, which I believe are at 6 o'clock, and a handful of other committees that meet at 6 o'clock. So it would be remiss if we didn't give you the opportunity to consider whether or not you would like the meetings to start at 6 o'clock, or if you prefer to keep them at 7. Staff are fine either way. There are some benefits to staff from this because we do have some of our staff which are not management, and so they have to get comp time or overtime or different sorts of time in order to manage their schedules, which we do all the time, and that's perfectly fine. So really, I wanted to just open it up as an opportunity for you to discuss and let us know if that's something you want to look at, as the other commission and some of the committees have done.
Thoughts, comments? Etc. Anybody?
I'm pretty agnostic on whether it's 6 or 7, so that's my strong viewpoint on it, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a?
I mean, I know that tonight's meeting was on a different day than normal. I did have a work commitment where I didn't get here until around 6:30. So if we started at, if, for example, this meeting had started at 6, I definitely would have been late to it. So just to note, but for the most part, our normal meetings, I don't have a conflict.
Can we start at 8?
Hey, I have a comment. I think that we should start at 6 if we think about everyone wants a life balance, right? So if Austin people got to hang out for 2 hours and if you can manage it, but if they got to hang out for 2 hours, how can we make sure if we end earlier, people get in bed, it's a healthier thing. So I just think from a work-life balance, they in their workday at 5, that we start at 6 and we're getting staff and ourselves, not that I need to get bed by 9, but I just think it helps from quality of life from our staff. And I think that's something to consider as we do it. So I am all in favor of this.
Any other comments?
But Kyle, do you typically have a meeting at 6:30? I wouldn't want to agree to something that
For our
you would
normal
go-
meetings, no, like this
Okay.
was just a special circumstance.
Gotcha.
So-
Okay.
Give that out.
Yeah, I mean, teen council starts at 6:30, arts advisory starts at 7. I myself prefer 7 o'clock. I've got, business that, doesn't stop at 5 o'clock and I would prefer to keep it on the schedule at 7. I think we get out at a reasonable time. I mean, I've had obligations at the next morning at 7:30, but that's just life. I think 7 o'clock is good. My clock set for 7 o'clock, but I'll go with the, I didn't even know that the planning commission went to 6 o'clock. Well, that's because they have 5-hour meetings. No, I'm serious. Yeah, we very rarely go past 9 o'clock, so, which is the usual time to get home from work anyway. But, I would prefer 7 o'clock, that'd be my preference.
I prefer 7 o'clock, but I would go along, but I know it probably is better for the staff. And when you consider that, so I mean, I'll go along with whatever, but
Is it easier for the staff at 6?
It is, but
Yes.
in the grand scheme of things, this really is about you guys. We are here to support you and the commission and so if it really, we can do either. But there is a point to that. It's, we've got people that have to stay and wait for the meeting.
Can we split hairs here and start at 6:30?
You could do whatever you want. Like Will said, you
Can you make
it 8.
that? I mean, does that feel like a squeeze play for you?
I think one thing to consider is public comments. So if people are residents, and let's face it, a large number of our residents work, in an hour plus commute, a large percentage of them work in the valley or in San Francisco. So if we're looking at it from a public standpoint or a resident standpoint, that might discourage public comment. Because people aren't getting home from work at, that time or, able to accommodate it. So I think that might be one of the reasons why, 7 o'clock might be good or that compromise it, But I think that's one thing to consider too, is that there are public comments and a lot of people may not be able to get here from their commute at that time. So is it something you want to consider and then do some thought and then come back next meeting and say,
We can, or you
and
can.
when would it start?
I mean, like I said, we don't have to. So you can just leave exactly as you are, 7 o'clock. We can leave it at 7 o'clock for now and you can all think about it for a while longer. And we could revisit in, even 6 months or you don't have, I mean, like, it's really fine. We're used to doing 7 o'clock meetings. We've done them since the beginning of time. So if you're all happy and you don't want to move it, then it's not necessary.
When does the city council start? Is that 6 p.m.?
They're at 7.
7.
They're at
Yeah.
7.
If I'm hearing right, I think Steve maybe was for pushing it, to 6, but I don't think anyone else here really had a strong feeling. Part that you didn't weigh in, but
I'm okay with both the times.
Okay.
So I know it is probably better for the staff, and which is definitely a big point here, because everybody should have a life and balance. And 7 o'clock, I'm got used to it. So I'm fine, but moving it to 6 also should be okay with me as well.
The only reason I like 6, I go home and work
Or 6
after this.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll spend like 2 or 3 hours working after these meetings. So,
Well,
but that's just me. It's not a big deal.
me too.
So, yeah, so I'm fine. 7, 6, I'm indifferent, but I just think it's important if we can become efficient and, you know, when we, at my work, we really work hard on how do we drive a good work-life balance, and if there's something we can do to, you know, even create more work-life balance for the staffing community, we should consider that. If it's not a big deal, then it's not a big deal. That's the only reason I think it's important. So. But either way, 7, I could care less.
Well, that's gonna be a strong consideration either way, am I hearing that? So why don't we leave it at 7 and we'll come back and revisit it, daylight savings time.
Yeah, that's fine. We can look at this again in the future. So,
Maybe in July.
all right, we'll take a look at it
Sun's out.
in 6 months or so.
Yeah, it was not raining.
Keep meetings.
Mhm. Thank you.
We are, look at that, we're getting out early, Steve.
I'm pumped, Will. I gotta write my reviews.
Oh, geez. We are at staff reports, 9.1, recreation, maintenance, and of course, operations report.
So I might bring up just a couple things to draw your attention to. One, if you looked at that aquatic section of the report, I'm always impressed and I feel like I need to show off all of our amazing lifeguards and all the certifications they get. But when you think about it, out of 114 lifeguards, 48 have the higher instructor level certification.
Mm.
That's pretty amazing.
Right.
And so it's a testimony to our young people who work at our pools. So I think that's interesting. And then I think the other things really do hit public services. The Central Park water main break, I think I mentioned that. And you might see it if you go walk around the meadow, you could still see the dirt piled up there. That was significant. It took quite a while for the staff to get that untangled, but they did. And then the graffiti and vandalism, I think this is important from a Parks Commission perspective. If you noticed in the report, the bridge got tagged, the windows at the Rancho Community Center got broken. And so it's not that I have an amazing solution, but I do think it is going to have more bearing as we continue to develop parks and think about what we're building and how we're building them, because we are seeing this increase in those areas and it is taking an inordinate amount of staff time and resources to keep fixing everything. So
So the Rancho, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead.
I'm saying, I'm surprised to see that people are breaking windows at Rancho.
yeah,
I mean, graffiti, I can understand, right? There's something, art form or something, expression there. What anybody can get is breaking the window.
I know. It doesn't make sense. I have to assume that these are young people acting out. That would be my assumption with that they weren't trying to break into the building, and that they were just vandalizing.
Do we have security that comes around at certain times?
We have our police department and they patrol but you know, those types of vandalism, if you're not right there at the right moment to do it, we have cameras in lots of different places. But they don't necessarily get a good enough image you can get enough to do. I don't know if you have more to add to that, but that's.
So there are cameras in strategic locations where we're seeing vandalism on a higher percentage than other areas.
Yeah, like the skate park, when we had all that vandalism in the bathroom, they got better cameras there. I do think they may have solved that one problem, one of the individuals that was causing problems there. But then there's another one to take their place, so.
Yeah, so when I read this and I just, and if I'm off track, say stop.
Mhm.
But I believe that how do we get our city to have pride in the city, right? So as you walk, you see trash along the road, as you go in parks or, you know, you see vandalism. How can we think about creating some type of motto or creating some type of day event where we clean up the city, or we start getting people to have pride in some of the assets we have in the city and, you know, take care of it. So like during COVID, we saw a lot more garbage because people are out, and not that everyone's littering, but you know, this is just me going off a couple trails, but the point is is there something we can do to change the narrative to have people, you know, whether we have a day or a time period or people, but something about pride in the city. So I think it gets more people attentive because we need the citizens of San Ramon to be attentive to what's going on. It's not that we can police it, the police can police it, but if we get more pride in our city, because we have a lot to be proud of, how do, you know, can we create something that, you know, take care of city today, go pick up a bunch of garbage, what that may be. It's just a thought, because I thought of, how do you solve this?
Sure. No, I just wanted to jump to the very last item on the report, the septic pump debris removal. I just wanted to say I really appreciated the shout out from staff about reminding people to only flush toilet paper and never flush wipes, even if the package says they're flushable. I work for a sanitary district. I will beat this drum every day because it causes so much damage that people don't even realize. So please don't ever never flush a wipe. There's no reason to.
All right, that was a public service announcement.
Yes, it was.
Okay, good.
So I just wanted to tag team on what Commissioner Breed was talking about, because I think there is some value in this conversation. Thinking about, you know, what does BART have? If you see something, say something. I mean, there's different ways. Now, I think that what we're looking at in our staff report is probably taking place in the evening when, you know, it's off hours, but to really encourage good stewardship, good citizenship. And I don't have the answer, but I think that there's some value in him bringing that up.
So I would say, I mean, I go in a lot of areas in East Bay and other parts of the, you know, the Bay Area, and it's pretty squeaky out here. I have to admit. And present company accepted, I wouldn't bring up BART as an example of cleaning up and, you know, regulating their cars. I mean, they say something like that, but.
It's more if you see something going on.
Yeah, oh, yeah. But I mean, you know, BART has an issue of their own.
Maybe not the best example.
Yeah.
But don't we have a right to, you know, talk to people, our neighbors and everything, to make them conscious of, you know? I mean, I think we have to. I think even maybe at the schools that we can emphasize that to take care of our city.
Yeah, but
Also.
most people are gonna go, oh, this place is pretty clean. So I mean, it
If you
kind of
go to
needs to be targeted,
Yeah, I
You
don't-
see,
you know, in particular areas.
If you
You know,
visit some other states, some of those not quite on the East Coast, but you see a really big difference of, you know, how they keep their cities and their parks and everything. So I think ours is very good, but I still think we can do better.
yeah. I'm just saying it's comparatively.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hey, Will, I hear you on it, and I'm with you, like we drive anywhere, but it's not really about that. It's about where we live, right? Pride in where you live.
Oh,
and,
no,
you know,
absolutely.
and so that's kind of the message track in the narrative. Is how do we pride in what we live and take care of what we live? So I could care. I mean, I do care what other cities do and some search and reply, but from the standpoint of what can we do different to differentiate and get people to, you know, we build out our cities, we're getting these new parks. How do we just continue to take pride in what we own and create some type of trash day or something like that, just to create awareness or something? And I don't know. I get it. I've been, you know, I travel a ton, I see different cities, whole deal, but you know, this is where I live, and you know, I think people have a lot of pride. Our police department does a great job. You know, we ranked as high city, and let's keep it that way. So just food for thought.
No, I mean, I think, you know, I pick up trash when I see it in the park or things like that, just, you know, but, yeah, I think maybe that's something that can.
Yep. But I hear what you're saying, though. Trust me.
We're growing too, so we have to do a better job at educating people also to make sure that we're proud of our city and want to keep it that way.
Well, I had the opportunity to speak to one of our former mayors, earlier in the week. And I remember what, he used to say, when you come to my city, it's my rules.
Right.
Right. So, you know, it doesn't quite, you know, matter, you know, where you come from, but when you're here, this is how we operate. So that might be, you know.
It's a good team.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's a little Old West, maybe.
So
but-
I really appreciate the conversation, and that's why I wanted to draw your attention to it, because I feel like every month I'm telling you about something else that got vandalized, and so it's definitely on staff's radar, and we'll continue to kind of think about it and ponder what we can do to try and move that needle the other way.
Pretty good.
So That's it for me, unless you have any other questions.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding the report? All right, and then we go to any commission liaison reports. I don't know if we had any in between, since they were pretty tight. We got team council that was there, and I know the Arts Advisory Committee did as well.
Our teen council meeting was around 2 weeks ago, January 16th. We didn't have too many things going on during this meeting, but just a couple presentations and conversations. The very first thing was just the teen job fair, which is coming up very soon, being hosted in San Ramon this year, March 9th from 12 to 3 p.m. if you'd like to join. We also got a presentation from the Doherty Art Center presentation, which was actually pretty similar to the one we had received here. So it was great to hear the information again. And there was a lot of great information about specific teen programs. One that stood out to me was a youth makers market for artists wanting to sell or buy work for youth artists, and then also a business fair in May. Other than that, we worked on our teen wellness survey, which was a survey that we're creating as a part of our wellness ad hoc committee, which we're going to be distributing to local high schools. It's in the final stages, and once it's on SurveyMonkey and ready to distribute, we're going to be doing presentations in high schools with the teen council members. That's it.
Yeah, it was a good. Well, a lot of substantive conversation. Yeah, so the Arts Advisory Committee meeting, primarily we discussed a cultural arts grant that was coming out of that conversation right now. Yes.
I have two quick things. So the day after our previous meeting, I went to the Library Advisory Committee's meeting on January 11th. It was at the San Ramon Library, and I believe that's the first time since 2020 it was actually held at the library in person. All the other ones have been by Zoom or at the community center. It was a pretty quick agenda. They approved the story walk selections for spring and summer. So you'll see those pop up at Central Park in the next couple of months. They reviewed and approved their draft 2023 Library Advisory Committee Annual Report, which will be coming to us in the next meeting or two. So you'll see all that then. I won't spoil any of that for you. So that was that meeting. And then I also attended, well, I watched the recording anyway, of the January 23rd City Council meeting, which was a pretty focused one. It dealt primarily with two items. The first was a resolution to declare the intent of the city council to renew the San Ramon Valley Tourism District. That was related to the Discover San Ramon presentation we had a couple meetings ago. And because that is essentially an assessment, it needs to be noticed with the public hearing to approve that. So that public hearing has been set for February 13th. And then the other item that consumed the meeting, there was a lot of spirited discussion about the formation of a sustainability commission, committee, or task force. All three of those options were discussed at length, and the city council ultimately settled on establishing a task force to review the city's climate action plan and potentially develop a charter for a more permanent committee going forward. And this task force will be made up of members of the community falling into specific classifications. There was a lot of back and forth about that, but that was the outcome of that decision, and that is all I have.
All right.
Well, the seniors,
Get a crab feed report as well?
no. The seniors did not meet on their regular meeting date because it was the first day of January. So their meeting was canceled. So this one coming up should be very interesting. We'll have information about the Aspen Woods Senior Apartment Project update and the city's financial outlook and funding needs. And the Alcosta Senior and Community Center quarterly participation report will be the main emphasis, and that will be this coming week.
All right.
So I've been talking with a couple of the Athen Downs residents, and they have brought to my attention that there's a pathway that's incomplete around the park. And so I'm wondering if that is on our CIP list. I know Mike's here. I don't know if that's a public services project or if that's a parks project, but I just wanted to bring that up, that there's interest in getting that completed. I also wanted to mention we had the crab feed San Ramon Historic Foundation had their craft feed on Saturday, and a lot of you were attending, and it was a very successful event and really a lot of fun. The next one coming up is the sheep shearing, and that's April 13th. And also, there's an RFQ that was out for the Boone House assessment, and apparently the Public Services and Parks and Community Services Department are reviewing the proposals, and there's going to be interviews coming up soon. So stay tuned on the Boone House renovation.
Vice Chair. We didn't have a planning commission meeting in between our two meetings. So next one is on 6th February. So next meeting I'll update.
Yeah, the January 16th Planning Commission was also canceled, so give them a break. They had really long meetings before the beginning of the year. And then yeah, just another shout out. The Friday Foreign Film Series starts this Friday. We're focusing on Asian cinema. So we start off with Rashomon, which is from Japan, and then do some of the Green Papaya from Vietnam, In the Mood for Love from Hong Kong, and Treeless Mountain from South Korea. So, you know, if you're watching or listening, you can buy your tickets at San Ramon Performing Arts.
That's at the front row theater.
Thank you, Bolt. Yeah, it's at the Front Row Theater this year. It was at Doherty last year because they were doing repairs. So it'll be back, which is nice. It's the 90 person theater, so it's very tight, and we'll have a good discussion afterwards. So
Excellent.
yeah.
All right. Commissioner Reed.
So thanks, Commissioner Levy, for attending teen council for me. Appreciate that, because I was out of town. So and I only have one. My son and I were chatting about the film series Mood for Love. So I guess we're going. He's going and I are going to go, but he said that the theater, I mean, that movie ranks really high.
It's an amazing movie.
Yeah, I hear it's anyways.
Yeah.
If you guys can, my son highly endorses it. So
Yes.
I just want to reiterate what Julie said, and then also about Athens Town, but my neighbors are coming, now that they know I'm Parks Commission, they want to know when the Doherty Fountain's going to work, Doherty and Cook Canyon. So it's been out since ever, and I don't have an answer. So I said, call Kathy. No, just kidding. So just so you know.
Do you happen to have any, wait,
Yeah, Cook Canyon and Doherty. It's been out forever.
Mr. Breed, we have somebody who might actually have
I
an
know.
answer.
Every time we try to.
What's that? Yeah.
Yes.
From Doherty.
Yeah.
So that's a part of West Branch Special Assessment Zone, so there's some funding issues with that, so it is going to remain off to basically fund that. All the maintenance operations. So we can get to talking about the assessment rate.
Okay. Well, they'd like it on whenever they can be on, so. You heard, as long as you heard me.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you for your response. That's it.
All right, any other announcements for the good of the community as well as the commission?
I will say this, if any of you would like to be a mock interview person for the teen council, we would appreciate your sending email, give me an email so that I can give your name to the person that's trying to fill it, because it's really a rewarding experience. And
March 9th?
Is it March?
March, yes, it's on a Saturday, 12 to 3. And so it will be at the community center, a senior and community center. And so we would definitely like to have people that would interview. You have questions, we're already done for you and everything, so it's pretty easy. You'll be amazed at some of the teens that come.
All right. All right, if there's no other comments from the good of the group or the good of the community, we will join the meeting at,